see an image of rebirth from the blue water lily, of the visionary blue water lily of ancient Egypt. So again, these plants have been given a place of importance in these ancient civilizations. And we know that they weren't just sniffing the water lily, okay, because that's often what you see. It's because traces of a liquid extract from the blue water lily were discovered in alabaster jars, stored in the annex of Tutankhamun's tomb. And when you have a liquid extract from it, there's only one reason that's there, and that's for you to take it for visionary purposes. And then, of course, the ancient Egyptian tree of life. I pointed this relief out to some of us in Karnak Temple, where we see the god Thoth, the god of wisdom, writing on the tree of life the name of Seti I. And the tree of life, my very good friend, the ethnopharmacologist Dennis McKenna, brother of Terence McKenna, has quite recently identified as Acacia nilotica. And Acacia nilotica is a DMT-bearing tree. It's a tree that has dimethyltryptamine DMT in its bark, the most powerful hallucinogen known to man. And I don't think that's accidental. Now, some would argue that the ancient Egyptians did not have the chemical ability to extract the DMT from the bark of Acacia nilotica. But my response to that always is, let's remember where we got the word chemistry from. You all know that, right? We got the word chemistry from Kemet, the ancient name of Egypt. They were the master chemists of the ancient world. The Arabs say alchemy. That's where we get alchemy from. So, if anybody can do it, they can do it. And therefore, I'm going to change this slide because I have too much available to me now, but therefore we can say we know what the ancient Egyptians were smoking. And I don't think that's an incense bearer. Look at this scene. We're all going to the Cairo Museum, right, at some point? Yeah. Second shrine of Tutankhamun. I hope you can see this clearly. Okay. Oh, dear. I mean, what's going on here is that here's the initiate, and here are stars in the sky. And rays are descending from that star straight into the forehead of the initiate. See those rays there? And what they're speaking to is the third eye. They're speaking to the pineal gland. And it's interesting, this is a meme going around on the internet, it's interesting when we look at this, that what the pineal gland actually looks like. It does look like the eye of Horus. And we find it on the pine cone shape on the staff of Osiris. Again, I think it's possible that the knowledge of the ancient Egyptians was much higher than we give them credit for. And they understood this because the latest research at the Cottonwood Foundation in New Mexico, which is run by Professor Rick Strassman from the University of New Mexico, has conclusively demonstrated, they've demonstrated it now absolutely in rats, and the next stage is to demonstrate it in human beings, that our pineal glands produce DMT. We all have DMT in our bodies. Until recently, it's not been understood which part of our bodies was generated DMT. But the evidence is now mounting to a compelling case that DMT is produced in the pineal gland. So, you know, we are, in a way, on drugs, whether we like it or not. Some of us, I believe, spontaneously overproduce DMT and enter spontaneously into deeply visionary states. Others need a little help from our friends. Bolivia, Tiwanaku. This is called the Acapana Pyramid. Treasure hunters have destroyed it over the years. And here is the Calasasía. And boy, it's something I had an adventure when Santa got that shot. With the most crazy German pilot in the world. Flying without oxygen at close to 19,000 feet. With the window open. Santa's leaning out the window. I mean, we had headaches to die for the next week after that. Because Tiwanaku is like 14,000 feet. I showed this slide the other day, but what these guys are holding are indeed snuff trays for the consumption of Anadenanthera columella. And I refer you to the work of Dr. Manuel Torres, who has thoroughly documented this mystery. Of course, Tiwanaku in Bolivia, we think of it as the Andes, and it is, but it's really quite close to the Amazon jungle. And the Anadenantheras come from the Amazon jungle. And it's clear that the ancient civilizations, the high civilizations of South America, were very focused on visionary plants. And I believe that we cannot understand those civilizations if we don't take those visionary plants into account. You know, if we stick our fingers in our ears or our hands over our eyes and say, we can't hear you, we can't see you, we won't learn. We have to listen to what these societies have to say, and what these societies have to say is that visionary plants were incredibly important to them. Ruth Shady-Solis, the excavator of Corral, has realized this. For a long time it was argued that there could be no possible relationship between the pyramids of the Old World and the pyramids of the New World, because there were no New World pyramids that were as old as the Giza pyramids. They were much younger than the Giza pyramids. But what has emerged from the sands of Peru, some 60 miles north of Lima, over the last decade is an extraordinary pyramid city, which actually dates back to 3000 BC, 3000 to 2500 BC, in the same window that the mainstream puts Giza. And she's learned some interesting things. Another thing has been overthrown by this discovery. This reminds us that the next turn of the archaeologist's spade can change everything about our views of the past, if they'll tell us. And that is that it was long believed that city economies grew up around a model of warfare, that warriors were involved in defending the city and they created these huge walls and they went out on their wars of conquest. Again, this is us projecting the sickness of our society back onto the past. You know, we're viewing the past as a mirror when we should be looking at it as a window. And what is emerged from the extensive excavations at Corral is no warfare whatsoever. Absolutely not a hint of war or any weapons, and yet a large urban society and a great deal of trade across the region. And what do we see amongst their imports, if not hallucinogenic snuffs from the Amazon? So maybe our deeply hostile attitude to these visionary plants is actually not normal,